morning. This is the news at 8, live from AYOGEN online television. I am Akajola Luatosin. This is a Brerakfast news. So here are the major headlines. On our local news this morning, OML 11. Controversies trial visit by Ogoni leaders to President Buhari. Boko Haram sends bomb makers to Kaduna as ISIS visits ISWAP in Lake Chad. On our political news this morning, we are ready for Anambra election, says INEC. Ogun APC Congress appeal panel received no petition, says Obaya Igbon. On our business news this morning, NNPC marketers inflated imported petrol figures under Buhari Jonathan Sanusi. On our sport news this morning, Carabao Cup, all the 8 teams for the qualified quarterfinal confirmed. On our news this morning, NPHCDA denies advocating $200 million loan for malaria net. On our foreign news this morning, group defense work in Haiti of 17 abducted missionaries. On entertainment news this morning, according to the Big My Brother Niger show, no big deal. Cross reacts to allegation of sharing nude video for publicity. So full details coming up next. OML Controversies trial visit by Ogoni leader to President Buhari. The visit to President Muhammadu Buhari by leaders of Ogoni land appears to be generating controversies among leaders of the ethnic nationality. The operation of OML 11, which is located in some parts of Ogoni land, is at the height of the controversies. The president of the Movement for the Survival of Ogoni People, Prince Bira, who briefed newsmen after a steering committee meeting of the group in Port Harcourt on Wednesday, said the visit was meant to hoodwink unsuspecting Ogoni leaders into facilitating the handover of the OML 11 to an indigenous oil farm, which he said represents their business interest. Reading the communique after meeting, Bira said the Central Committee commended and described the visit, which was shrouded in secrecy and a shame, designed and executed to hoodwink unsuspecting Ogoni leaders on the delegation to give credit to and legitimize the masked criminal intent on advancing the political and economic interest of those behind the visit. The committee also hailed the position taken by the president of MOSOP, which upon confirmation of the ploy by some Abuja-based politicians and their collaborators to use the visit to facilitate the handover of OML 11 to an indigenous of oil firm that represent their business interests, protested and refused to join the delegation to the State House. Most further explained that they were not opposed to the resumption of oil exploration in Ogoni land, but instead that the move must be preceded by a broad-based consultation and agreements reached by the people. We gathered that the meeting with the OML 11 operatorship was to be handed over to the said oil firm after the meeting with the president could not go on in Abuja due to the disagreement among Ogoni leaders. The Moso president also announced the rejection by Ogoni people the proposed pardon of late environmental activist Ken Saruwiwa and 8 other Ogoni leaders who he said should be exonerated instead. Boko Haram sent bomb makers to Kaduna as ISIS visits ISWAP in Lake Chad. Boko Haram, under the leadership of Bakura Boduma, have relocated bomb makers to a forest in Kaduna State. Known as Amaliyas, they were recently deported to Rijana, Igabi, and Chikun in the southern part. The Boko Haram sect is deploying fighters to mountainous forests in the northwest state. Boduma recently led the hit against Islamic State West African Province, ISWAP, in retaliation of the murder of BH commander Abubakar Dogo Dawa. The elimination of Dawa, one of the late Abubakar Shekau's allies, was coordinated by ISWAP's Modu Bashir Okocha. However, ISIS Shura Council is set to meet ISWAP, its affiliates controlling territories with Lake Chad. ISS leaders Abu Ibrahim al-Asmi al-Quraishi is dispatched a delegation as part of Global Reorganization of Units. Also known as Daesh, the militant group will provide funding, training to ISWAP and also deploy more mercenaries across the region. They are also forces with ISWAP to eliminate terrorists of the Bakura faction of Boko Haram. An intelligence source told RPR Nigeria. In July, intelligence uncovered bandits in Niger and Zamfara states were attending drills conducted by Boko Haram, the RSWAP. On our political news this morning, we are ready for Anambra election, says INEC. We are ready for Anambra election. Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Muhammadu Yakubu, has said that the commission is ready for the November 6th governorship election in Anambra State. He said that this in a meeting with the Joint National Assembly Committee, INEC, and Electoral Matters to engage with the commission over the forthcoming election in Abuja on Wednesday. Yakubu said we have recovered from the series of attacks on our facilities, and I am happy to say that we have deployed all the non-sensitive materials to all the local government areas. As far as INEC is concerned, we are good to go on November 6th. We have trained the requisite number of ad hoc staff for the election, and we have also mobilized members of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, NURTW, for efficient distribution of materials on election day, he said. On the distribution of permanent voters' cards in Anambra, he said, we have a little over 81,000 valid registrants within the suspension of the continuous voter registration, CVR, in Anambra, that includes a little over 5,000 that applied for replacement of cards and interstate transfers. We are batching the cards that will leave first thing tomorrow, Thursday morning, for Oka, and all the new registrants will get their cards before the election. This time around, with the help of technology, we were able to harvest the telephone numbers and email address of the registrants. So we will contact each and every one of them and tell them where to pick their cards, but the cards will be delivered to Oka today, he said. Regarding the Ogun APC Congress, appeal panel received no petition, says Obayagmo. The Ogun State Congress Appeal Committee set up to review the recent parallel congresses of the All Progressive Congress, APC, in Ogun State has concluded its sitting with no petition received. A correspondent reported that the two major seat factions battling for the soul of the party are led by Governor Dakpo Abiodun and his predecessor, Senator Ibikunle Amosun. The two factions had on October 16 conducted parallel congresses amidst violence. Some hoodlums had disrupted the Ake Palace, where the Amosun supporters at their congress with heavy gunshots, while Dakpo Abiodun factors congress held at the MKO Stadium, Kuto, was peaceful. To settle the issues that may have risen from the congresses, the Caretaker/Extraordinary National Convention Committee was set up for a five-man appeal panel. The five-man committee, headed by former House of Representatives member Patrick Obayagmo, sat between Tuesday and Wednesday. However, Obayagmo told newsmen in Abeokuta that no petition was received within the 2 days of the sittings. He said the development implies that the APC leaders in the state were satisfied with the conduct of the October 16 Congress. We said we have sat for 2 days and no person or persons have approached the State Congress Appeal Committee. In that circumstances, we are of the view that Ogun State's APC political class is satisfied that the Congress held on October 16, 2021 was in substantial compliance with both the Constitution of APC, the extant regulations with both the Constitution by the Caretaker and Extraordinary Convention Committee, and of course with clear provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the committee chairman said. He added that the panel would now proceed to write its report and forward it to the National Secretariat in order to meet the requisite timeline of this assignment. On our business news this morning, NNPC marketers influenced imported petrol figures under Buhari and Jonathan, says Sanusi. A former governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Lamido Sanusi, said on Tuesday that petrol import figures were inflated when global oil prices went up during the administration of President Goodluck Jonathan and the regime of the current president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, retired. Sanusi spoke on Tuesday at a panel section during the 27th National Economic Summit in Abuja. Said the subsidy on petrol was responsible for the inflated figures until May 2016. When the federal government announced a new petrol price band of 135 naira to 145 naira per litre of petrol. Private marketers imported petrol into the country and were paid subsidy claims by the government in order to keep the pump price lower than the expected open market price of the product. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, which has been the sole importer of petrol into the country in recent years, has been seen bearing the subsidy cost. It does the importation through the direct purchase, direct sale arrangement. Under the DSP, DSDP schemes, selected overseas refiners, trading companies and indigenous companies are allocated crude supply in exchange for the delivery of an equal value of petrol and other refined products to the NNPC. Sanusi said, "I have said this over and over again, and when I say this, I want to be clear that I said this when I am the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria under the previous government. What I say is not about a particular government." In 2015 or 2016, Mr. Kachiku came out and said Nigeria was importing 30 million liters of fuel a day after eliminating corruption and having transparency. In 2019, the NNPC came out and said we were importing 59 million liters per day after oil prices have gone up. And I have been asking the question, what happened between 2015 and 2019 that our consumption doubled? This was the same thing that happened under the previous government in Nigeria when the oil price goes up. Unlike other products, when it gets more expensive, you have a reduction in demand. The NNPC says we are importing more because the price of the oil goes up, the arbitrage between the subsidized price and the market price is so high, there is an incentive to inflate those numbers. The NNPC is the latest monthly report on its website said a total of 1.67 billion liters of petroleum motor spirit, translating to 55.79 million liters per day, were supplied in April. Sanusi said, "I have produced evidence before the National Assembly historically of cases where the NNPC will say we have imported fuel, use the name of a vessel. People say they imported fuel. You go and check, and the vessel was nowhere Nigeria on the day they said it was in Lagos, and people believed they have collected subsidy on those things." For me, all the drawbacks of this regime, what it is costing Nigeria, is not just the cost of the subsidy, it is the cost of the corruption. What we need now is to scrape it. The ex-CBN boss added, "This money is coming from petroleum, belongs to the Federation account. The federal government does not have the constitutional right to pay subsidy on behalf of the Federation." So this is a fundamental constitutional issue because this is money that should go to federal, state, and local government. Yet money that belongs to the Federation is carried out as a central government expenditure. So you can see so many complex issues. There are legal and economic issues. What we need to do is stop this thing. On our sport news this morning regarding the Carabao Cup, all the 8 teams that qualified for quarterfinals are confirmed. The quarterfinalists for this year's Carabao Cups have been confirmed. They are Arsenal, Chelsea, Sunderland, West Ham, Leicester City, Tottenham Hotspur, Liverpool, and Brentford. The Gunners booked their place on Tuesday night following a 2-win win over leader United at the Emirates, while the Blues needed penalties to see off Southampton. On Wednesday, Manchester City, who have won the competition for the last 4 years, were eliminated via sport kicks by West Ham. Spurs beat Burnley 1-0, Liverpool saw off Preston North and 2-0, while Brentford defeated Stoke 2-1. Leicester sent Brighton packing 5-3 on penalties. The draws for the quarterfinal will be conducted on Saturday. On our hot news this morning, NPHCDA it denies advocating $200 million loan for malaria nets. The National Primary Health Care Development Agency has said that it did not advocate for a $200 million loan for the importation and local production of mosquito nets. The agency made this known on Wednesday in a statement made available to newsmen in Abuja. According to the statement signed by the Head Public Relations Unit of NPHCDA, Mohammed Ohitoto, the news as published by some online media linking the agency to the $200 million loan is untrue. The attention of the National Primary Health Care Development Agency has been drawn to an online publication quoting the ED/CEO NPHCDA, Dr. Faisal Shwahib, as advocating for a $200 million loan for the importation and local production of mosquito nets in this country. This is to inform Nigerians that it's a statement not only untrue, but it is also a figment of the imagination of the writer, as the CEO never discussed the malaria program, nor granted any interview on the malaria program. It is pertinent to state that the malaria program is the responsibility of the National Malaria Elimination Program. Therefore, well-meaning DA Chief Executive has no reason whatsoever to discuss or advocate for funding for such intervention. This news is outrightly unfounded and fake and should be disregarded by all well-meaning Nigerians. Recall that the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Loans on Tuesday kicked against the proposal by the Federal Ministry of Health to borrow $200 million under the malaria program to buy some mosquito nets in 2022 budget. The committee's condemnation was in response to the Ministry of Health's submission about its intervention to borrow the amount for the purchase of mosquito nets for 13 vulnerable states. The permanent secretary in the ministry, Mahmoud Mahaman, has justified the proposal before the panel. He said the loan, if approved by the National Assembly, had assessed will be used to medically fight malaria in the 13 orphan states, which cover 208 local government areas, argued by the submission Senator Ibrahim Oloriegbe and Permanent Secretary and Executive Secretary, National Primary Health Care Development Agency, Dr. Faisal Shuaib. Oloriegbe wondered why 450 million naira was budgeted for malaria treatment in the proposed 2022 budget, and yet plans are being made to borrow $200 million for the same purpose. He said this is unacceptable. We should be able to put our feet down when dealing with these donor agencies or creditors as regards to loans to be taken and what it should be expended on. On a foreign news this morning, group defends work in Haiti of 17 abducted missionaries. A religious organization whose 17 missionaries were kidnapped in Haiti almost a week ago is defending its work in dangerous places. Port-au-Prince, Haiti, a religious organization whose 17 missionaries were kidnapped, were defending a place's work on Tuesday. The statements from Christian aid ministries come as U.S. and Haitian authorities keep working to secure the release of the 12 adults and 5 children, including an 8-month-old baby who were kidnapped on October 16 near the capital of Port-au-Prince. Occasionally, we are asked why our workers were in Haiti, the organization said, adding that they want to share the impact religion has had on their own lives. We want others to enjoy peace, joy, and redemption that we have experienced. U.S. officials have reiterated that the government issued a warning again in August about the risk of kidnapping for ransom in Haiti, where the leader of the 400 Mawozo gang that abducted the 16 Americans and 1 Canadian recently threatened to kill the group if its demands are not met. Haitian officials have said the gang is demanding $1 million ransom per head, but it wasn't clear that if that included the children. A local human rights organization has said the group Haitian's driver, who also was kidnapped. On Tuesday, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said the situation will be a topic of conversation at the upcoming G20 meeting, adding that the U.S. and other countries need to step up and give Haiti the kind of investment and international aid as it requires. On our entertainment news this morning regarding the just completed Big Brother Naija Season 6, no big deal, Cross reacts to allegation of sharing nude video publicity. Cross ex Big Brother Naija housemate has reacted to backlash over his nude video shared on WhatsApp and Snapchat. Cross has accidentally shared the video on Wednesday, which stirred reactions online. Some Nigerians who criticized his actions accused him of posting it intentionally for a public stunt. However, Cross, speaking in an interview he said it was a mistake and he had no intention to use it for publicity. He added that the life after Big Naija is choking him and he just wants to be him. Cross said posting the video was just a mistake, no big deal with it. I'm just back with my phone once a while and Snapchat changed some features. It was just a mistake and quickly when I noticed, I deleted it. People should understand the kind of person I am. First of all, I'm a human being. I wear my heart on my sleeve. So it is all entertainment. Social media's lifestyle is still new to me. I'm still trying to get his concept about it. This social media life is choking me. I just want to be me and live how I've always wanted to be. I'm just a guy that wants to have a good time and in the process make a lot of money to provide for my family. As simple as that. Anybody that is saying out is sorry when asked the video was a strategy, Cross said, I would rather give anyone the fame and just have the money. Give $1 billion right now and I'll give you anything you want. And that will be that on our breakfast news. We'll be right back. Just stay with us shortly. Welcome back. Still on our breakfast news this morning. Highlights of our local news this morning. OML 11. Controversies trial visits by Ogoni leaders to President Buhari. Boko Haram sends bomb makers to Kaduna to an ISS visit, ISWAP in Lake Chad. On our political news this morning, we are ready for Anambra election, says INEC. Ogun APC Congress appeal panel received no petition, says Oba Iyagbon. On our business news this morning, NNPC marketers inflated imported petrol figures under Buhari and Jonathan, said Sanusi Lamido. On our sport news this morning regarding the Carabao Cup, all the 8 teams that qualified for the quarter-final have been confirmed. On our health news this morning, APHCDA, the Knights advocating $200 million loan for malaria nets. On our foreign news this morning, group defends work in Haiti of 17 abducted missionaries. In the entertainment news this morning, Big Brother Niger, no big deal, Cross reacts to allegation of sharing nude video publicity. And that will be that on our breakfast news this morning. Do thank you for watching. I want you to continue to subscribe on our YouTube channel and our Facebook and YouTube channel likewise on AYOGEN Online Television. I remain your host, Makonjola Oluwatosin Esther. Do have a very wonderful day.